What's happening, you guys? It's your boy RottenRoseQ back with another reaction video. This one is kind of long awaited. I want to first off give a huge shout out to the brother NPR. I was able to see his reaction video and I love what he was able to do with it. But there was some things that I did see in the original video that he was responding to that I genuinely believe that I need to address and give my opinion to. So without wasting any more time, y'all, let's just go ahead and get straight into this, guys. This one right here in particular is basically about the rise of the beta. In all respects, if y'all have not noticed, most men are not alphas these days, especially when we look at the places where men and women congregate that we're not family, which is social media like Clubhouse, TikTok, Facebook, yada and yada and yada. Since these dating conversations have become a thing, I must admit that what I am seeing men do throughout the years of it, I believe we're on like year 5 of it being the number one thing. Long live Kevin Samuels, but we must admit what he started was something that was like a black hole almost, if you will, because no one is here that has any idea on how to make a hole that size, let alone get rid of it, let alone maintain it. With that said, since those days, I see how much men have begun to give women the upper hand. Like I'm just going, we're gonna get real about this one real fast. A lot of men would shut up and keep their thoughts to themselves if they know that the thoughts that they're having will get them ridiculed by women or get a bad reaction out of women. And I'm seeing it way too much. Sometimes I'm in TikTok lives where I see women screaming at men and pretty much outwitting these men as well. And the men just acquiesce. They just mute their mics and wait for the next opportunity that the women allow them to speak. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this video to see if maybe there is something going on with men today.
Ryan Taraban, and this is Psychhacks, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is Rise of the Beta. So folks online talk a lot about high-value men, alpha men, who can compete successfully both in life and in the sexual marketplace. We know that, all things being equal, women tend to mate and date hypergamously. That is, they tend to mate and date up status hierarchies. By the same token, we know how difficult it is to ascend those same hierarchies, which implies that those at the top must be more competent, more diligent, more intelligent, more ruthless, etc., than those at the bottom. However, all this kind of begs a question. Namely, if alpha men are supposed to be at the top of social status hierarchies, then why is it that so many of our corporate leaders and cultural icons and elected politicians are such weak fucking dorks? Like, why don't we see alpha chads running the world? While we've seen a shift toward traditional masculinity as a positive in the most recent election cycle, why is it that so many leaders around the world seem to be beta males?
When he speaks about this election cycle, can we take into consideration, and I really don't want to do too much. In the comments, let me know if you guys would like me to do a deep dive on what I'm saying, because I will do it. But I don't want to if you guys don't need me to. But I do want to make this known. Something has changed with this presidency. Now, I know that when I say that, I believe most people begin to think of the negativity that has taken place since then. And there's been some negativity. There's no other way around that. We ain't even gonna act like we don't know what's going on here. I will say this much though, in all seriousness, one thing that has changed is the respect for the traditional man, the respect for the opinion of the man that's not agreeable. My thing is, it was getting to a point where when we were under different leadership, no matter what a man had, he was able to be checked. And what's so crazy is that Obama is such a huge figure to the black community. And to see videos that are made even to this day of, and when I say this, I hope I don't get any type of hate behind this, but I believe that there are some videos that I see that kind of paint him in a negative light as the leader of his household. I know even with me using that term, right, leader of household, it's like, ooh, it doesn't feel good these days to speak like that. So, with that said, there is definitely a huge shift that has changed for the traditional man since Trump's presidency. But let's continue to go down this rabbit hole with him to figure out exactly the point that he's trying to make here.
Like, that shouldn't be possible, right? In fact, on the surface, it seems to be a flaw in our model. Shouldn't the guys at the top, no matter how they present themselves, be the alphas by definition? What is going on? It's a very interesting question. In today's episode, I'm going to offer a possible explanation for this phenomenon. To begin with, it's important to understand that the current situation is not the end state. This is not how things are supposed to look at the end of the game. What we're currently experiencing is an intermediary stage in a social movement that may or may not reach its conclusion depending on current and future events. Beta males in positions of power is not the desired end goal. It is merely a necessary step in the direction of that goal. The best analogy I've been able to come up with to explain what is going on comes from the TV show Survivor. Now, I'm not a Survivor superfan.
Before he gets into that, I kind of just want to help you guys understand a little bit of what he's trying to put down here, right? So, in all respects, women are going to be more comfortable amongst the beta males than they will be amongst the alphas, solely because alphas are not going to be agreeable. Alphas are going to want to lead, and alphas are not going to feel comfortable being led. The thing with the beta male is comfortable being a leader, but he doesn't mind being led. The beta male knows how to have a stern level of respect for women that does not need to be reciprocated. The beta male knows how to understand that once a woman begins to cry or use her emotions to get over, that it's time to roll over and get out that woman's way. Now, I understand that in the last few years, men that make their decisions for their best interests are pretty much looked at like toxic men. I believe without people saying it directly, men should know that we need to take into consideration what people think of the patriarchy, the matriarchy, men in the household with children, men in the household with women, men amongst women in public. Women are beginning to create these conversations, and whether they want to admitted to us or not, they want us to listen and they want us to take their words into consideration, or if not, move exactly how they want us to move. But if you have done enough of speaking to women, what you would recognize is they don't truly have an end goal of being the leader in a man's life. I have been asking this one question for years. When I speak to women, would they be comfortable paying bills and being the leader for a man? Paying a lion's share of the bills and being the leader in a relationship while they're with a man for 10 to 15 years or more. All of the women say no. What the women say in particular is that they're down to take care of things for a little bit if that man goes down for a little bit. But the logic of them having to take care of the lion's share of bills and a man being able to depend on that, women will never want that. Women are not designed to take care of a man for that long. Women are not designed to take care of men. So I believe what I'm saying to be true. I would love to see that. If anyone disagrees with me, please let me know in the comments. If you are a woman that would not mind paying the lion's share of the bills for a man, or if you're a man that knows a woman or women that have no problems at all paying most of the bills and also being in the leadership role. Because from what I know, man, I've spoken to thousands of women and I haven't met one. So yeah, with that said, let's continue to keep this one going.
But I'm familiar with the premise, and I find the program absolutely fascinating from a social psychology perspective. Winning the game depends on correctly adapting a fluctuating system of strategies in a constantly changing social milieu. It's not enough to be the smartest or the strongest or even the most well liked. It's realpolitik with real people. They've produced nearly 50 seasons of the show already, so even if you've never seen it, you're likely familiar with the premise. In any case, in one of its nearly 50 seasons, Survivor conducted a gender based experiment and pitted men against women. Though the team started out in equal numbers, only women made it to the end game. All the men had been eliminated. And this outcome is particularly surprising given how the game began. At the beginning of the competition, when the men and women were segregated, the women didn't win a single contest. Actually, no, it's not fair to say they didn't win. They didn't even come close to winning. It was a bloodbath. The men were destroying the women on every single challenge the game presented.
And even to think about that for 1 second, what I know to be true, and I don't know if anybody else is gonna agree to this. Men, and I kind of want to say this. I love women, and I always understand that women are necessary in men's life. So they're gonna put that out there first. So now when I say that, I hope you understand what I'm saying. This is not any woman hate here. The point I'm saying is when men are coexisting amongst themselves alone, and I'm gonna put a pause on this because I don't want that to sound crazy. But what I'm trying to express is we as men, if we're creating an ecosystem, we kind of know how to do so. We know how to show a certain level of respect, but also make sure that there's also a level of don't fuck around with my stuff. That we kind of know how to balance this thing correctly when it's us as men, right? But then just think for yourself. Think for a second, right? What do you think changes or gets worse once we open up the cage of men and now we involve the same number of women? What do you think changes? Because in all respects, just like what he just brought up about Survivor, Survivor is not one of the things that you could just be most liked and then you just make it all the way through. That's one of the things that things are always ever changing because they're actual humans here. Humans are different than paper or numbers. So with that said, man, he's on to something, and I don't want to go too far into it, but I want to ask y'all that, and I would love to know what you guys think in the comments. What do you guys think is the difference from when men are learning to live in a area amongst men and they're able to get it done and they're able to do better than other societies, but as soon as we open that cage and put the same amount of women in it, all of a sudden, the women are the ones that actually come out on top in the final stage. What do you guys think happened? But let's continue down this video.
Not only that, but the villages, like the way the two teams were living, were completely different. The men had formed a cooperative system. They constructed shelters, marshaled fire, and were eating game. They were living fairly comfortably, given the rather primitive environment they found themselves in. On the other hand, the women were basically huddling under rocks, wet and cold. They didn't have the skills or the systems to construct even a tenth of the men's infrastructure. And of course, the better the relative conditions, the easier it was for the men to maintain their competitive advantage. So, given all this, how did the men go from being absolutely dominant to being voted out of the game? How did the women pull off this coup? It's an interesting question. Pause the episode now and see if you can figure it out.
Yeah. So when that question is asked, right? Um, as y'all should already know, if y'all don't, I have the utmost respect for my YouTube family. When I'm making videos for you guys, I'm gonna make videos for you guys. I'm not gonna make videos and then begin to start speaking about a bunch of other things. We're gonna keep it here, right? With that said, man, I have seen on a lot of applications and a lot of lives where men and women are sharing equal rights, if you will. I see that a lot of the solid men that actually have something to lose, something to teach, and a heart that's, you know how they say Muhammad Ali had heart? So that's what I'm trying to say, the heart of Muhammad Ali almost. And my thing is, what I see when I go around these dating platforms, or just platforms where men and women share them, those men are pretty gone. I don't know what happened. I don't know who got them out of there. But for some strange reason, the outspoken men, the men that are unwavering, the stoic men, the men that are not about to play ignorant games, those men kind of stopped coming to the conversation. Or if I do see them in the conversation, they got a different level of energy these days for the conversation. Like when they used to be in a conversation, they were very enthusiastic. And these days they're like depleted if they're saying anything at all. It's like they don't got that power. And what I also notice as well is that when women begin to scream, or when women begin to get angry, men begin to recognize and men begin to cower. The reason why I'm saying that it's cowering is because when men are getting angry, the women are not recognizing and slowing down. The women are actually checking these men and making sure that they know what to do with that attitude. It has been a 180 out here. Women tell me all the time that men are conducting themselves in a weak fashion, or just in a feminine fashion almost. Like I'm trying to say it with respect to men. But a lot of women believe that they're the strong ones, they're the smart ones, they're the bright ones. They're the ones that can actually lead themselves somewhere successful. But when I speak to these same women about what they believe on a man's leadership, a lot of these women don't believe that the men that are their counterparts actually have it in them to lead them to a promised land or lead them somewhere that they want to be. A lot of women believe that they can get themselves where they want to be quicker than the man can get them where they want to be. And things are changing. But hey, let's continue.
All right. So this is basically how it went down. It soon became obvious to the women that they were not going to be able to win in a head to head competition against the men. And every time the women lost, another one of their numbers was voted out of the game. They understood that their days were numbered and that they would have to try to undermine the men in some other way. So, what the women did was sow dissension among the men. The women
This is where a lot of men don't agree with me, but I honestly, I don't care. Here's my thing. I love history. I love war. I love to find out the story. My thing is, when we understand how revolution happens, when people are fed up, something changes. When women got fed up, something changed. When men are now fed up, something is changing. With that said, I just want to put it out there. When women are recognizing that the game is not rigged for them to win, and now they're rigging the game, fellas, can we blame them? This is not me saying that women are right. This is not me saying that men should just acquiesce to everything that women want us to do. But the point I am saying is I understand exactly why it's happening. I believe understanding is important in this world. You might not agree, but you should understand, because the things that we can understand are the things that are going to be most scariest in this lifetime. But hey, let's keep going.
observed that as powerful and skillful as the men were, this power and skill was not distributed evenly across the group. A pecking order had organically emerged, and the most competent and accomplished had risen to the top. These men, whom we could call the alphas, were responsible for a disproportionate majority of the team's success.
And once again, to break that down, what we do understand, as I said, when we are just men coexisting, we as men pretty much know how to form hierarchy without even speaking on it. We understand that there's going to be somebody that's the strongest person. There's going to be a guy that might not be the strongest person, but he might be the smartest person. And my thing is, what men will do is quickly come together and learn how to accept the fact that we are not all the same, but all together we could get something done. What I notice is women kind of don't do that until it's too late. What I mean by that is that women will kind of play friendly with each other for way too long and act like everything is cool. And then whenever things get bad, women will then let each other know how they genuinely feel. And in a survival mindset, that's not gonna really work for you. Here's what I like about women, and it also reminds me of cats, right? Cats are cunning. My thing is like, what I mean by that is if a woman recognizes, like he just said, that she's not going to win something physically, that does not mean that the woman is not going to win. How many scenarios and situations have we seen where the woman might not have been the stronger person, but she was the smarter, or she was the quicker, or she's the one that's breathing while that man is not? So this is a beautiful point to bring, that as human beings, women will still defend themselves. And rightfully so. Who are we to believe that they shouldn't? You know? So that's just the point that I want to put out there, that I do completely understand why the women are making these moves, because if the days are numbered and they recognize every day that they come to this battle that they are losing, it's time to come up with a strategy that is going to help them win.
Now, awareness of this fact was not lost on the men. However, it didn't really seem to bother any of them. They were teammates and aligned toward a common goal. It was okay that some men were higher status than others because there was still a place for every man in the economy of that society. It was kind of like a high functioning sports team. The whole team could acknowledge their best players as their captains and yet not impede their ability to work together successfully. In fact, this kind of hierarchy probably makes a team's success more likely, as the team has functionally endowed certain individuals with executive functioning, which can expedite decision making and cooperation. That said, the women were able to create dissension in the ranks by sowing doubt among the lower status men. They found some pretext or other to corner the lower status men and basically said, look, we get it. You won. We're screwed, and our time here is limited. We're not going to win. But before you start celebrating, you've got to consider, as soon as we're gone, who do you think is going to be next? Huh?
You know what this makes me think of? And this is something that I wish that more men think of. When a little girl is born, when she's a baby, any men that love her, anytime she cries and someone did something to her, we are going to ask, who did it? Who did it? And while she's crying, she is going to point and say that it was them. And those girls learn at that age that if you can point to them, we can hurt them, or at least make you understand that we're going to defend you. So when he's telling the story, he's kind of making me think of the things that women genuinely know about their lives, that you don't have to be physically big or even physically in the mood to do anything as a woman. You just need to understand how to speak to men around you and get them to work at your benefit. And I hope you guys understand that I'm not saying this in a gender war way on women's side or on men's side. My thing, what I want y'all to understand when I'm creating these videos, it's not about sides for me. It's about speaking on what's going on and being able to help either side, because it's not my fight. I just want to be able to break these things down and have intellectual conversation about them for real. But let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Hmm? Do you think you're going to beat out those alphas? As soon as we're gone, you're next on the chopping block. We can't beat those guys, but let's be honest, neither can you. So let's form an alliance against the alphas for our own mutual self-preservation. Now, on some level, this was a rational argument. However, the women also spiced this offer with a couple of emotional tidbits. First, they played on the beta male's pity by damseling. They made an uncommon show of their misery and helplessness in order to evoke a helping response from these men, which they eventually succeeded in doing. Before too long, these betas were sharing food and fire with the women, their competition. So, by plucking on male heartstrings, the women were able to create a fifth column inside of the men's village in order to secure instrumental support, something that the alphas would be less likely to do. Second, the women lightly flirted with the betas and suggested the possibility of relationship further down the road. Like once the alphas had been removed, the women indicated that they would be able to move into the village to take their place. And wouldn't that be more pleasant company than a bunch?
Let's be real about it. Going back into the lessons that women do understand from young. What women do also understand whenever they get older is that men, especially the beta men that you're smarter than, and I think women know what I mean by this. You know when you're talking to a guy that you're smarter than. One thing that you know about that guy that you're smarter than, or the guy that you don't really want, but you know that he wants you, is that he would rather be around you than to be around sweaty men. It just is what it is. And going back into my point, could I blame women for doing what is smart for them to survive if the game is about surviving? And honesty, no. How can I? You know? So that's just my thought process on it. I 100% understand why it's going like this. I just create a video like this because I know that there's other men that are noticing what's going on, but doesn't necessarily understand how to put the two and two together here, or even doesn't understand how things are going to work in the future. So this is why I want to kind of create this video so that I can kind of let you guys know how I'm seeing it, and maybe the way that I'm seeing it can help you guys out as well. I don't know though. You guys are going to let me know when this is all said and done.
Of sweaty dudes. So, through a combination of fear, pity, and desire, the women were able to persuade a group of lower status males to betray their higher status teammates, initially through clandestine sabotage.
Fear, pity, and desire. Fellas, I want you to think for a second. Can women get you to go against men out of fear and pity? Mm, I don't know. I think it's a thing. We're gonna keep going. Let's just keep going.
And bad faith, and eventually through open revolt. However, by this time, the women and the betas together comprised a majority bloc, which was able to get rid of the threatening higher status men. And once all the alphas were gone, guess what happened?
Question. Once the alphas are gone, do the women look at the betas like alphas? Is it possible for the men that were the betas the whole time that watched the women get rid of the alphas? Is it possible that now he can grow the cojones? Shout out to my Spanish people if I have some here. But like, is it possible that he could become an alpha and that the woman will allow him to coexist? Or would they go ahead and get rid of him too? What truly happens after a woman is removing a strong man while men watch, or if not help? What does the men believe will happen for them after? I don't know. I don't know. Let's continue down the road though.
The remaining women broke their alliance with the betas and voted every single one of them out of the game.
They broke their alliance and voted every single one of them out the game because, in all respects, we understand that the betas would love to replace sweaty men that they have to listen to and come second to with beautiful women, gorgeous ones. Here's the question now. Do these women want to coexist with you? Or would these women rather the same place that they can coexist with you till themselves? Ask yourself, would your woman want what you have to herself? or would she rather coexist with you?
After all, they were no longer useful. So the outcome the betas feared, the outcome that motivated them to betray their teammates, was precisely the outcome that came to pass as a result of their betrayal.
I'm gonna take it easy from here, but I will say this much, man. A lot of women are not acting like men. They're acting like the worst representatives of men. A lot of women act like men when men are making really shitty and messed up decisions that have no care for the other person. But in all respects, we understand that that's not how men are. Sometimes the way that people view us is a little different than exactly what it was. So, with that said, I don't want to go through the full story or the full video. I do want you guys to go ahead and show some love to Orion Tarabon because he definitely made a great video here. The name of the video on his end is Rise of the Beta and Why Men Today Are So Feminine. So I just want to go ahead and show him some love, y'all. So please make sure that y'all show him love. I'm gonna get out of here, but I just wanted to go, actually, you know what? Let's keep digging. Let's keep digging. I don't have anywhere to go. Let's keep going. I think we need to finish this.
And that's how the women were able to beat out the men and win the game. They could not succeed in direct competition. They were only able to survive by turning the lower status men against the higher status men through the manipulation of fear, pity, and desire. Pretty clever, huh?
And think about it for a second, you guys. There are some men that are going to crash out for women without asking them whether or not the women are telling the truth. And I'll go one further. There are some men that are going to crash out for women without going to get the facts on their own. And women know who those guys are. And women know the guys that are going to ask them for more before they crash out. And women know when to go to those men. And I'm not saying this as far as trying to paint women out to be messed up people. We're just speaking on the point of surviving and understanding that women aren't dumb. And he made a huge point that once beta men are not useful anymore because you helped the woman get rid of the alpha men, you're next. And it's crazy, right? Because it's like when these women came to you and started the disloyalty that is in your heart, what's funny is that these women are now going to give you the same messed up reality that you were trying to avoid. So it is what it is, man. But let's continue down this path.
If you're interested in taking your understanding to the next level, I would encourage you to check out the Cap.
I think I'm at the point of a what you call it, a ad. With that said, I do want to continue down this video, so let's just try to keep this going real quick.
Status men. And like the TV show, this has largely been done through the manipulation of emotion, especially through the concepts of maleness and masculinity. Across the same timeline, all of the traits associated with traditional masculinity, the toughness, the strength, the stoicism, etc., have been rebranded as toxic. Impressionable young people.
You know what I hate about being a man? Every time I speak to a stranger man, things aren't strange when we actually speak. We actually agree on a lot of things, and it doesn't really matter what color of a man's skin. When it comes to being men, there's certain things that we require and we expect. And those things pretty much don't change. What does change is the level of silence or the level of honesty for what we truly want. But in all honesty, man, let's just be real on this, man. Men ain't that easy. Men do not settle as much as women settle. And if I need to break that down, someone let me know because I will make a video about it. But men have a funny way of making sure that they don't settle. They just don't say it. They'll exist. They'll act like they're there. and they won't say those things until an argument or something like that. Then you can kind of get it out of them. But men do a good job of limiting you to them and not making it known. But whatever. I don't want to go too long on this video. I want to go ahead and close this one out, but I do want to say this much. We are in the time of the beta male. I used to ask this question all the time when I had a stage full of people. If there are any men on the stage that know that they are a simp or a beta, can you please say I? And no men would ever speak. When I speak to men, men have a terrible radar on knowing whether or not them themselves are betas, simps, good guys, real ones, whatever these terms are. But one thing's for sure, I've never met a man that admitted to being a beta. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I just want to go ahead and say this much. If you know that you are not counsel, if you know that the women in your life do not view your words to be something that can help them get further in life, if you know that the women that you might sleep with or are around does not view you as a leader, does not seek your words, does not, yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. But there are a lot of signs to show you that you are a beta. If your girl begins to scream a lot, but you don't have the same rights to scream, you're a beta. So I don't know who needs to hear this, but I will go in to speak on this more because I believe that in the next few years, especially until 2030, men are going to need identifiers to know where they are. And if you guys want me to break that down more, I have no problem doing so. But if y'all don't want me to, I could go ahead and leave these alone in totality as well. So just let me know. It's your boy RottenRoseQ. I always enjoy kicking it with you guys. I hope y'all enjoy kicking it with me. If y'all have not already, please go ahead and hit that like, hit that subscribe, go ahead and comment on something. Please go ahead and share this out to somebody else that does need it. But I do want to say this much, fellas, it is our decision on who we want to be as a man. You do not have to be agreeable. I believe that we're living in a time now where we have a lot of agreeable men and we do not have a lot of agreeable women. We have a lot of women that are living their lives. It's my way or the highway, and a lot of men are signing up for it. My thing is, you can't be stoic going every way. You have to be willing to stand on something. And sometimes when you stand on something, the results are not going to be beautiful back rubs. Sometimes it's going to be loneliness. But standing on something and having morals is so much more beneficial to you as a man than allowing people to just treat you like a pushover. So I hope this video meant something to somebody. If it did, please let me know. But I want y'all to have a beautiful one. It's your boy RottenRoseQ, and I'm out of here.